At Harry Buttcheek asks, what was the climate when the dinosaurs roamed? The world in which dinosaurs lived was generally a fairly warm one. However, at high latitude...
It was good, everybody. So I kind of wanted to switch things up just a little bit. Instead of talking about fighting and talking about fighters all the time, I kind of wanted to make some more content about things that I'm personally interested in. And I could also make content on things that you guys are interested in. As you can see behind me, I'm actually a pretty big fan of anime. I know I might be a little dweeb behind the scenes. It's all good. But I'm actually into anime. If there's anything anime related you want me to react to, if there's any gaming content you want me to react to, anything at all, I'll react to it. Maybe you want me to react to some TikTok stuff, some, I've also, before I started heavily doing content and training all the time, I used to be an active watcher on YouTube, and one of my favorite channels I used to actually watch was Moist Critical. I kind of used it as like my daily news. So if there's any type of videos like that you would want me to react to also, I definitely will. I appreciate you guys for clicking on the video, and thank you so much for watching.
What's the scariest dinosaur? I think the scariest looking dinosaur would have been Spinosaurus, simply because it had this huge sail on its back. But I think here in the United States, the T-Rex is definitely the people's favorite.
That's a big ass tooth.
T-Rex tooth.
Is that a real tooth?
The largest tooth, including the root, gets up to about 7 or 8 inches in length. These cutting edges are serrated like a steak knife. T-Rex ate the whole
That's a real
prey.
tooth.
We have
That's
also
crazy.
droppings of T-Rex, and they show us that it ate the meat and the bones. It crunched up the bones, much like some big crocodiles do today. At Ricky Dells asks, scientifically and historically speaking, how do we know what dinosaurs sounded like? Surely the sounds the movies have taught us are just guesses. No? Well, indeed, they are just guesses. In fact, it's quite likely that dinosaurs were much quieter than people give them credit for. Birds sing, but most reptiles don't make much in the way of sounds except for hisses and grunts. So we think that dinosaurs would have done things
I didn't
like
know that.
but certainly not this lion roar that Hollywood wants us to believe. EV4N2K4 asks, when I die and go to heaven, first thing I'm asking God is, what did Jurassic Park get wrong? Jurassic Park was made as an entertaining movie, not as a science documentary. The star of the movie are the raptors. Here
I know a lot of the dinosaurs have feathers.
Adult velociraptor. The filmmakers decided that it looked too puny and they needed something bigger.
Oh yeah, that does look a lot smaller than I
after this was filmed, people found a really gigantic raptor out in Utah, and since then, other giant raptors have been found in South America and in Asia. So there were giant raptors around, but they were in fact much bigger than the ones in the movie. The movie claims that T-Rex could only detect prey by motion. In fact, when we study the brain case of a T-Rex, we find that it had very large olfactory bulbs, which are the part of the brain that picks up information from the nose.
It's crazy how they can find so much about animals just based off of their fossils
to the brain.
And DNA and stuff like that. It's crazy.
In an ear that allowed it to hear at least a wide range of low-frequency sounds. So it would have smelled the actors in front of its snout, and it would have been a very short movie indeed. At Emo Hair Weston, how did the asteroid kill every dinosaur? Like, doesn't an asteroid hit like one general area rather than like the entire world? The asteroid theory is a very flat Earth theory. There's no flat Earth. The Earth is
volcanoes.
A sphere. What happened was when the asteroid happened to impact,
volcanoes, they can impact the atmosphere
of 100 million megatons of energy.
I hope that's what he says.
And this basically melted this huge asteroid, which was 6 miles in diameter. And this sent up a gigantic cloud of glowing material up into the atmosphere. This would spread around the world. We see this even today when a volcano erupts. Volcanic dust sweeps all around the world.
Your boy is smart.
Imagine a world where suddenly it's raining drops of molten glass. That's what was happening. And so basically,
I don't know where I learned that. I don't remember where I learned that. I learned that somewhere though.
And that's why the dinosaurs were wiped out probably within a matter of hours, at most a matter of days.
Because volcanoes do the same thing.
How do they know what color dinosaurs were? For many years, we really had no idea what color dinosaurs had. In fact, people sort of assumed that, like many of the modern lizards, snakes, crocodiles, turtles, it would have been sort of greenish brown, and that's what you see in all of the old dinosaur books. However, in recent years, thanks to some remarkable discoveries in China, we actually found out what some dinosaurs looked like, and it was a real revelation. We found that some of the little feathered dinosaurs actually had color patterns as vivid as those in modern birds. There's a dinosaur called Cao Long, and it had beautifully iridescent feathers.
Well, that would make sense
so
because they say birds are the closest thing to dinosaurs.
So the dinosaur world was far more colorful than we were previously thinking. At T6 Lee asks, so why were dinosaurs so big back then, but now animals are small? Scientists go. A lot of dinosaurs were big, but there were also small dinosaurs. In fact, there's one dinosaur that's barely over 2 feet long. Do you live in an environment where it's advantageous to be big for your particular mode of life? And there's some places on Earth where the rules are reversed. Often on islands, generally large animals become dwarfs. About 15 million years ago, a gigantic hedgehog lived on an island in what's now Italy. In other parts of the Mediterranean, there were tiny elephants running around that would have actually sort of been nice little pets if we had been around at that time.
So in college, I took a class and I remember we were learning about insects and things like that. And for anyone who knows more about this, you can let me know in the comments. But I'm pretty sure like insects are mostly made up of like oxygen. I could be wrong. I forget what it's called, but I'm pretty sure like most of the bugs interior like surface area or something, whatever it's called, it's like mostly made up of oxygen. So I think I don't know why I thought at the time there would be like much more oxygen in the atmosphere, which is why those insects and stuff were able to be much bigger than they are now. I don't know how true that is. I think I can't remember if I learned that from somewhere, if I kind of just put 2 and 2 together and was like, oh, insects were huge back then because there was a lot more oxygen back then in the atmosphere. But I don't know. Y'all can let me know in the comments if I'm completely wrong on that. I'm not sure.
God's Titties asks,
God's
how many
Titties.
species of dinosaurs are there? I want to know all of them. Right now, there are about 1,100 described species of dinosaurs other than birds.
Who are they
Who
are they getting to ask him these questions, yo? God's Titties?
5,000.
What is going on?
Even more. One important thing to keep in mind is
You
we are
really
much
had this guy
closer
say
in
God's
time
Titties.
to a T-Rex than the T-Rex was to a
that's hilarious.
Stegosaurus. We now have classified this myriad of species by looking at various parts of their skeleton. T-Rexes have little ass arms. That does not sit right with me for a dinosaur. T-Rex had really small but very powerful arms, and you can see this here on our Pride and Joy.
I'm sorry, yo, but where are they finding these people to ask these questions, bro? These people are asking these questions they seem like the type of people that they just put down their phone, stopped watching TikTok, and then went on Twitter to ask this question for him to answer. Like, where are they getting these people asking these questions from, yo? Like, they trying to set my guy up or something. What?
Joy. Nobody really knows why T-Rex has tiny arms. It has been calculated that the arms were still strong enough to lift up to 600 pounds of weight.
Oh, wow.
Earlier relatives of T-Rex
Those little ass
still
arms
have
could lift a
longer
lot of weight.
arms. Other
Well,
predatory dinosaurs
for
actually
as
get
big as that
increasingly
motherfucker is,
longer
600 pounds
arms,
might not be
which
that
eventually
much.
become wings in birds. At Solar Beings us, since when were pterodactyls not dinosaurs? Since ever. Dinosaurs and pterodactyls are related, but pterodactyls have nothing to do with dinosaurs. They have an early common ancestor, but they diverged in their evolution quite dramatically. Pterodactyls became flying creatures, wings very different from those of birds, whereas dinosaurs were mostly land-dwelling animals, and only a few forms later on evolved into birds, which have very different looking wings.
In my own opinion, I have the same kind of theory with like human beings and apes. I just don't believe personally that we straight up evolved from apes, because I think we all came from a certain primate, but I think in the similar way of pterodactyls and dinosaurs, they came from a similar species and then they branched off and became like completely of their own. I think that's where we came from. We came from some type of primate that's neither human or ape. And I think we just completely branched off into 2 completely different species. And that's because I don't think we evolved from apes to humans, because where is the in-between, right? I just don't humans haven't really been on Earth for that long. We really haven't. So, number one, I don't think it's been really that long to have that big of an evolutionary change without there being like some form of in-between species still alive, if that makes sense, right? Like, if we evolved from apes, I just find it very weird that there's apes and there's humans. There's literally nothing alive that's in between.
Why did the early mammals and birds and fish, like sturgeon, etc., not become extinct when the dinosaurs did? That's a very good question, and in fact, it's one of the great mysteries of paleontology. It's basically different life strategies. Small animals can hide. A lot of small animals are also able to go without food for long times, whereas a large animal cannot. Most dinosaurs went extinct, and only one group of dinosaurs, birds, survived. Birds, as I just said, are dinosaurs because they descended from small meat-eating dinosaurs, just like we are primates because we descended from other kinds of primates. We now have a beautiful series of fossils documenting all of the stages between little predatory dinosaurs like that and birds that would have been recognizable as a bird to anyone alive today. It's very rare that you get such a nice continuation of fossils between one group and a group that it gave rise to. At Harry Buttcheek asks, what was the climate when the dinosaurs roamed? The world in which dinosaurs lived was generally a fairly warm one. However, at high latitudes where the sun would disappear for months at a time, it would have been quite cold. And actually have even
they're setting my guy up, bro.
That there were permafrost
that was
kind
of funny.
Areas. Yet dinosaurs lived there. Dinosaurs really could cover almost any environment that you can imagine. We know dinosaurs that lived essentially under subpolar conditions. We know dinosaurs that lived in really tropical regions.
I'm sorry, but I just find it fucking hilarious that they got this really smart, educated, professional person answering questions for someone named Harry Buttcheeks. What world do we live in, man? What is going on? What is happening?
Were dinosaur feathers dinosaur scale, or did they have a lot of bird-sized feathers? The really gigantic dinosaurs, by and large, did not have feathers. We only know one really large tyrannosaur from China that lived in a very cold environment and had feathers. Most of the dinosaurs that we know that had feathers were animals up to
I imagine seeing a giant like T-Rex with feathers.
And they had bird-sized feathers. And we know this because the bones have little bumps on them, and you can see them when you take a chicken apart. They're called quill nodes, and that's where the large flight feathers in a bird insert. At Mr. Soak asks, idea, what was the smartest dinosaur like? Would they have used tools, built shelter? How much could they understand about the world? Some of these little predatory dinosaurs have really large brains. They have this sort of bulging area here, much like you would see on a bird skull. So these little dinosaurs probably have
I was going to say, I think they should be smart because birds are very smart.
We see today in hawks, owls, and particularly in crows and ravens.
Birds are
crows
very,
and
very
ravens
smart.
have repeatedly shown their ability to solve relatively complex problems, and some birds have sort of minimal kinds of tool use as well. And something like that is not beyond the possibility for these early dinosaurs as well. At Birch from Hell asks, when did the first humans discover that there were dinosaurs?
From Hell.
I really want to know how we
Look at the
first
picture.
figured out giant dinosaurs roamed the earth. The first record that we know of a definitive dinosaur is from the 17th century in England, when Robert Plot described a part of a thigh bone. He didn't know what to make of it. He compared it to giants of legend. President Thomas Jefferson couldn't conceive of the fact that animals had gone extinct. Even though he found fossils of extinct animals on his estate in Virginia, he thought that these animals still existed somewhere alive out west. And that was one of the reasons he sent the Lewis and Clark expeditions. The Smithsonian got into the dinosaur business early in the 20th century. And here's an old photograph. This was taken in the 1930s, an excavation in progress. And you see people here chipping out large blocks of rock that have bone in them, and then are taken back to the laboratory where the actual excavation begins. We can glue it back together, clean its surface, and ultimately
I want to get a dinosaur bone.
And exhibit. How did T-Rexes sleep? Like curled up, roosting like a chicken? asking for a friend. T-Rex presumably crouch down, just like a lot of birds do when they're resting. However, we actually have found dinosaurs that were preserved in burrows, where they presumably were sleeping or at least hanging out, and some of them are kind of curled up. Ed Paul Garcia, NBA, asks, how did the Brontosaurus weigh 23 tons when it only ate plants? You have to imagine that these dinosaurs probably spent every waking minute eating.
Yeah, it's like a gorilla. They just eat a lot.
So big is if you eat plants, you have a big problem. Much of the plant food that animals and people eat is made out of cellulose. And so you need a very large gut to accommodate bacteria and other microorganisms that can break the cellulose down into fatty acids and in sugars like glucose that the host animal can actually digest. So in order to be a full-time plant eater, you need a really large gut.
Yeah, and I think that also plays into the oxygen in the atmosphere, like I was saying earlier. Like, isn't it because there was more oxygen and there was more, well, gases in general in the atmosphere that the plants were much, much, much larger than they are today? So they had a much larger food source for them to eat all day, every day, to maintain that mass.
How long did the dinosaurs live for? Weren't they around for like 1 million years or something? Well, dinosaurs as a group first show up 230 million years ago. Most dinosaurs went extinct 66 million years ago. And of course, their descendants, birds, who are also technically dinosaurs, exist to the present day. We don't know much about individual dinosaurs' lifespan.
Way longer
in the case of the T-Rex, we have found now that the oldest known and largest T-Rex was only about 30 years old when it died. These dinosaurs grew apparently at an amazing pace early on and sort of died young and left, in some cases, a good-looking corpse. So those are all the questions for today.
That's actually kind of crazy, yo. They lived... Wow, I didn't know that. They lived for that long. All right, so let's just do the math real quick. He said 230 million minus 66, so they were around for over 160 million years. Wow, I did not know that. All right, that's gonna be the end of the video. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much for the support, and if you want to see more content like this, just let me know. And if there's anything you guys want me to react to or watch, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll check it out and possibly make a video on it. But I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.